A line graph is a visualization that shows trending patterns. And this is going to be typically over some time period. A lot of times you're going to see years, and that's going to show up here on this horizontal axis here. Now, line graphs tend to only have one vertical axis. As you can see here, we have two of them. But sometimes two are shown. I wanted to show this here because it's kind of an unusual graph. But it's easy to read this in either case. For now, let's just focus on the blue line. So I want you just to ignore this line here, and the blue line uses the left vertical axis. So we're also going to ignore this axis. So just imagine that there's only this blue line. This is what a typical line graph will look like, but we can also show two line graphs in the same data. Now it's important to note that the left vertical axis is from 210 to 300, 210 all the way up to 300. And to see the actual showing of the data, you have to start at the 0 mark. The 0 gives you the origin point, and it shows you how the numbers relate to 0. If you did that, this graph would look a lot more flat, and it would have just a little bit of a spike at the end here. But I zoomed in on this portion so you can actually see how this data trends out much more dramatically. Otherwise, it looks too flat. So just keep in mind that sometimes you're going to see this this change, and that changes how you can interpret this data. This may look dramatic, but in the grand scheme of it all, when you flatten it out, it's not as dramatic as it looks. Okay, this table shows the data points. This CPIU data here is what's the blue line. And I'm using this data table here as well because it's hard to get an exact reading from this line graph for these points. So the table is going to help us out in that regard. So this graph shows the consumer price index for all urban consumers, which is called CPI-U, and that's what's shown in the blue line here. And it's important to note that the index 100 is from years 1982 to 1984. CPI-U, this is using a basket of goods, as it's called, to talk about how the prices increased over the years. I recommend you look up the consumer price index and look into that a little bit more, as it's a pretty common economic term. So what is the average annual CPI-U for 2011? And then this is always going to be the average annual because that's what this data is using. For 2011, we can see here, this is 2011, and this looks to be here about 225. That's what it looks like. However, we can get this exact point by just looking at the data table. 2011 is here. The CPI-U is 224.9. You can just do one place there. So we could say 224.9 or 939 because we have the actual data point. For 2022, of course, 2022 is right here. And that shows, looks to be just above 290, so 291, 292. Of course, here we can use a data table. 2022 is 292.655. And the nice thing about trend lines is that you can kind of see how does the data continue. So I could say for 2023 is going to be over here. Well, it looks like this is spiking. So, I mean, I could say, well, it looks like it's going to just keep going up even higher. It definitely seems like it's continually increasing as the years keep going on. And that is generally true. There are a couple years where it doesn't increase, it actually decreases, but those are very rare if you look at the entire history of the CPI. Okay. What is the percent change in average annual CPI-U from 2014 to 2015? So we're looking at the percent change, and to do that, we're going to have 2014 being the baseline. So this is going to be our initial amount. So our initial 236.736. That's the data value from 2014. And then our final amount is going to be 2015, 237,017. So to find percent change, all we have to do is do final divided by initial. Okay, we could do that on a calculator. And I am getting 1.001186 9. I'm going to leave it. I'll leave it. I'll run to the next space. And so this percent change, you can see that we have a percentage above 100. So if I move this to a percentage, it's going to be 100 points. I'll do 12%. In other words, this is a percentage increase by 0.12%. From 2015 to 2016, our initial amount is going to be from 2015. That's going to be 237.017. And our final amount is 2016, 240.007. Okay, final minus initial, 240.007 divided, or final divided by initial. I'm getting 1.01262. I'll just round to there. And then that as a percentage is going to be 101.26, rounded 2 places. And so we can see that this is a percentage increase by 1.26%, because that's what's above 100%. It's a percentage increase. And these two values here, you can see, are actually what is shown here, 0.12 and 1.26. So actually, what I have here in this third column is percentage change. And this percentage change, this column here, which is actually shown in the yellow, is inflation, the annual average inflation. And that's going to be based on the consumer price index. It's going to use the right vertical axis. So we use the left vertical axis for the CPI, the blue line. But the right vertical axis is going to be used for this orange line. So we're not going to use this at all for the orange line. So what you could do is you could ignore this blue line and ignore this axis and just look at this, this data here for this one. And how this actually turns out is that both of these lines actually follow these because they are the same, there's the same amount, number of them. So this is 9, this is 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, all the way down to 0. So you can actually trust those lines with how this data is being shown. Now, it's important to note that if you don't know what inflation is, inflation shows how this consumer price index, there's multiple ways of calculating inflation. This is one way of showing it. It's showing how the CPI-U increases over time. Positive values of inflation means that the dollar is decreasing in value. It means that you need to use more money to buy the same amount of items. And this is all kind of based on the index from 1982 to 1984. But you can see that in the 2000s here, we're already in the 200s. So we're already over double the price of goods from the 82 to 84 range. Okay, what is the annual average inflation rate from 2017, 2018, and 2019? So we can just look at here, 2017. This looks to be just above 2.0, maybe 2.1. 2018 looks to be maybe 2.4. And 2019 looks to be just below that, so maybe 1.8. Of course, we can actually just read the data table here. We have 2.13%, 2.44%, and 1.81% for those percent change. We can also just calculate that, right? 2017 is going to be the percent change from here to here. And if you did this divided by this, you're going to get 2.13 over, or 102.13%. And then doing the same thing, 251.107 divided by 245.12. That's going to give you a percent change of 2.44%. And then, of course, this one here is going to give you a percent change of 1.81%. So inflation is always bigger than 1, meaning it's always an increasing consumer price index. So that's what we have here is 2.13. So it's 2.13, 2.44%, and 1.81%. Okay, it says the average of those 3 years. So the average of these averages is going to give us kind of a flat line expected value over this period of time. So the average of this is always, you calculate average by doing 2.13 plus 2.44 plus 1.81 and dividing it by how many you're adding up. And we're adding 3 percentages up here. I'm getting, I'll do approximate here, I have to round, that on average over those 3 years, we have a percent change of 2.13. It's actually really close to this amount. So if I were to find this, then if I just draw a straight line here, you can see that kind of averages that this one goes up, but this one goes down, and it kind of evens each other out right here at this flat line. That's what we're kind of calculating there, is just that kind of flat line trend there. Now, what's the average between 2020 and 2022? And you can see here between 2020 and 2022, right? 2020 was lower, but then it starts spiking. Of course, that's because this is during the COVID range. So 2020 is 1.23, then 4.7, and then 8 for 2022. 1.23, 4.7, and 8. The average there, approximately 4.64%. So once again, that's just about this middle number here. So it's going to be something like this. If I were to take the average flat line here, that's kind of what I expect. This increase here kind of cancels with this decrease here. And this is the flat line average for that period of time. Of course, this is wildly different since it's spiking here so quickly. Okay, now for a different kind, we still have 2 bars, but in this case, we can talk about differences between 2 bars in addition to looking at them and actually reading them from the graph, since this one's easy to read from the graph. How much weight did Matt gain over the 5-month period? So this is all weight gain by month. And so they gained, both Matt and Josh gained weight in these months. Each month they gained weight. And so it's asking how much weight did he gain? Well, if Matt's the green, Matt gained 2 here, then he gained 4 here, then 3 more, then 6 more, and then 5 more. I'm just reading the 2, 4, 3, 6, and 5 is that last data point. So Matt gained 2, 4, 3, 6, and 5 for a total of 20 pounds. And Josh, so this is of course the month on the bottom here. This is the pounds gained. So we're in the first month, Josh is in the purple. Josh gains 4 pounds in the first month, gained 2 pounds in the second month, then 3 pounds in the third, 4 pounds in the fourth, and then finally he gained 5 pounds in the fifth. So 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's important not to confuse these 2 labels, right? This is the pounds gained. So the height of the data points tell us the pounds gained, and this is the month shown. I'm getting 18 pounds for Josh. Okay, what was the average unit rate of weight gained over the 5-month period? Well, that's going to be the total, and then we're going to divide it by the total weight gain, and then divided by the period of time that it was. And this is going to be over 5 months. There's 5 months here, and each one they have gained. So they're going to be 20 divided by 5, or 4 pounds for Matt. For Josh, he gained 18 pounds over the entire time. So 18 divided by 5. He has a 3.6 pound average, pounds per month, I should say. Average pounds per month. So what I can do is I can draw a line, and a line for Matt is going to be 4, and it's right here on the 4. And so I can just draw a flat line here. And this is going to be for Matt. If I do a different color for Josh, he did 3.6. 3.6 is approximately, that's 3.5. 3.6 is around here. For Josh, he gained approximately this right here. So you can see from Josh's, right, we have an increase here, a decrease there, increase there, and an increase there. And those kind of all even out to each other. And then for Matt, he's in the black. We have decrease from there, Exactly the same thing there. Decrease from there, increase from there, and an increase from that one. So those differences kind of cancel each other out, and that's what the average is expected over this period of time. Of course, for the next one, it says, which month did Josh gain more weight than Matt? So if I were to remove this, which month did Josh gain more weight than Matt? Josh is the purple. Right here, right? This one he gained the same amount. This one he gained the same amount. But these two, Matt actually gained more. Josh gained less, but only in the first month. The first month did Josh gain more.